Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2 Unit 3.4 Notes, Day 4. We are, yes, still talking about graphing absolute value functions. Our learning target today is to be able to graph absolute value functions and identify important characteristics. You ready to get started? Yeah, me too. So, today we're going to be talking about domain and range of absolute value functions. So, our domain, okay, that is the set of all the x values of the function. So when we're talking about it, you should be asking yourself, how far left and right does the function go? Or does the function reach? And then our range is the set of all the y values. How far up and down does the function reach? And of course, we'll be writing these in interval notation. So our domain. Remember that our domain is the x values. So how far left and how far right does our graph reach? And I know you might want to see, well, it stops at -5 and +5, Mr. Grice. Incorrect. Because remember that these are arrows and it goes on and 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 on. And not only just on and on up, but it's also going to the right and to the left. There is no beginning, there is no end in sight that we see, okay? So what that means is, well, it starts at negative infinity and then ends at positive infinity. Now our range, those are the y values. So where does the graph begin and where does the graph end? Well, you could say up and down, right? Right? Isn't that y? Good. So up and down, it doesn't start at negative infinity. I see where this starts. And it starts at 0, and then it goes all the way up to positive infinity. Okay? So our range is a little bit different. So for our range, we're going to say that we start at 0, and then it goes to positive infinity. All right, example number 2. Once again, domain is our x values. How far left and how far right does our graph go? Well, yeah, once again, it's negative infinity to positive infinity. I can't see where it begins. I can't see where it ends. Now for the range, our y values, okay, it keeps going down and down and down and down and down, which is negative infinity, and then where does it stop? It stops at 0. So our range is going to be starting at negative infinity, and then it stops at 0. Okay, so guess what? Our domain, our x, yeah, it's the same thing. Negative infinity to positive infinity. Now our range, our y, is where it's going to look a little bit different. So this time I start at 1, and then it's going to end up at positive infinity. So the range is where we're going to have to do a little bit more work. Oops, sorry, should be a bracket on this side. We're going to have some more fun questions on the other. Okay, so just more examples. Domain and range. Our domain, our x values are the left and the right. there are no limits on the domain. So if there are no limits, we says, well, it negative infinity to positive infinity. All right, I'll fix that. All right, and our range, our y, we're starting at negative infinity down here. And then where does it stop? Yeah, at -1. So negative infinity and stops at -1. Do you guys feel comfortable trying number 5 and 6? Why don't you give it a shot? Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, for 5 and 6, I'm more concentrated on the range. Okay, so for number 5, our range, we start at -5, so I'm using the bracket, and it's going to go on to positive infinity. And then for number 6, the range is starting at negative infinity, and then I think it stops at +4. Okay? All right, you ready for the fun stuff? Oh yeah, me too. So, what we're going to talk about now is looking at our graph and figuring out when is it greater than or equal to 0, and when is it less than or equal to 0. And when they're talking about f of x, remember that's the y. So when is y values greater than 0, and when are the y values, sorry, we're going to color code this together. So when are the y values less than 0, and when are the y values greater than 0? Okay, because whenever they mention f of x, they're really talking about the y. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Our first question is identify the interval of domain values for which y is, or f of x is greater than 0. So you need to ask yourself, where are the y values greater than 0? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of rewrite this, that this is y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so where is y greater than 0? Well, it's greater than 0 up here. And that portion, it's where it is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm super zooming in to this part because all I care about right now is the -5. So from -5 through -2 is when it is greater than 0. So if I'm writing that down, I would write that in interval notation as we zoom out a little bit. Okay, and that is from the points, the close points of -5 and -1. And I'm just going to change that to black because I'm crazy. Okay, so do you guys see how it's just that closed section? Now, our next part is identify the ones that are less than 0, okay? So where is y less than 0? So when I'm zooming back in on my graph, we are less than 0 here, and then I'm less than 0 all the way through there, okay? So when I look at this, Sorry, I'm going to erase what we just did. I am less than 0 this whole distance, and I am less than 0 all the way through here because we're talking about the domain. All right, and now if we're looking at just this portion right here, we would write that in interval notation where we talked about, well, we start at negative infinity, it goes to -5, then there's that break, and then we pick back up at -1 and we go to positive infinity. Do you see what we're doing there? And I hope it's not too hard because we were just talking about this stuff. It just looks a little bit different because now we're doing this on an absolute value graph. Okay, so it's -8, or -8, come on, negative infinity to -5. Okay, we're using the bracket, the union, -1 to positive infinity. Okay, and now, sorry guys, I gotta kind of erase all that stuff. We're asking ourselves, where is the increasing? Okay, so remember how we talked about finding the vertex and knowing which side is increasing versus which side is decreasing. Okay, so my left side is increasing and then my right side is decreasing. So the interval, I'm going to zoom out so we can see that. Well, we can't. So where it's increasing, it would be from negative infinity, and we would stop at -3 because that's where our vertex is. So we go negative infinity to -3, and then decreasing, we would be at -3 to positive infinity. Sorry, and at -3, we are using a bracket. Okay, and now we have to find the average rate of change over the interval -1, 0. Just remember, guys, that these are our values. Okay? I'm going to erase all this stuff again. I know, a lot, guys, it's a lot of stuff. I'm not arguing with you for that. So at -1, I'm here, and at 0, we're here. In my directions, I would be going down 2 and then to the right 1. So between -1 and 0, we're going down 2 over 1 or -2. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'll pause this. Okay, so I've got my question up on the right, and then we're going to do the graph on the left. So the first part that we're looking at, as I come over here to get my pens, when is y greater than or equal to 0? Okay, so well, where is y greater than 0? I'm going to come back over here. I'm greater than 0 over here, and I'm greater than 0 here. So if I am drawing that, that's where I'm greater. I have a nice break, and then I pick it back up again. All right, so we would write that, as I come back over here, we start at negative infinity, and it goes to -5. There's a break, there's a union, and the graph picks up being greater than 0 at 7 and continues to positive infinity. So our next part, where is y less than or equal to 1? That's when I'm looking at this whole portion down here. Well, it's less than 1 from -5 to 7, and it's all this middle part. Okay, so when we're talking about that middle part right there, I'm just talking about from -5 to +7. Right? I'm on the right graph, aren't I? Good. All right, what's our next question? So now we're talking about where is it increasing and then where is it decreasing. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to erase all this stuff, and this is where we talk about the left side versus the right side. Okay? Here's our vertex. So on the left side, we are going down, and on the right side, we're going up. So the side that I'm increasing is my right side, and that's from 1 to positive infinity. Okay? So we're going to say starting at 1 and then to positive infinity. So I'm decreasing on the left side. The left side, we would start at negative infinity and then at 1, not 2, Mr. Grice, at 1, that's where we stop. All right, and now the last thing we need to ask ourselves is between the points 2, the x values of 2 and 5, what's going on? What's the average rate of change? Okay, so let's take a look at those points. Here's 2. I think our graph's just a little bit off, and this is going to happen on the next one too. But there's 2, and that's where 5 should line up. I'm sorry that mine's a little off. I think yours might be 2. But this means we're going up 2 and then to the right 3. Oh, come on now. I'm getting all jacked up. Okay, so our average rate of change is 2 over 3. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do A and B, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to bring A and B over here, and then see if you can answer those 2 questions. So go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. And I'm super sorry because guess what? I kind of tricked you. So when is it greater than 0? Do you ever see it being greater than 0? No. So we would say none. Well, Mr. Grice, then when is it less than 0? It's going to be less than 0 all the time. So from negative infinity to positive infinity. Sorry, I guess I should have checked that one before. Whoops, my bad. Okay, so now let's look at the next part. All right, so the next 2 questions are asking you to identify where it's increasing and decreasing. All right, so come on over here to this part. There's our vertex. Go ahead and answer those 2 questions. Go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, so the left side is where we are increasing from left to right, so that's from negative infinity to negative 2. And then on the right side, we're decreasing, so from negative 2 to positive infinity. Okay, and the last one, find the average rate of change over the interval, negative 2, 2. Once again, these are our x values. Okay, so I've already got the first negative 2, or the first negative 2, the only negative 2, Mr. Grice. And then at 2, I think we're supposed to be using that point right there. Or actually, I think it's supposed to be 1 off, so sorry. It's at negative 9. Okay, so go ahead and pause that video, and good luck. Okay, and it should have been negative 8, negative, or down 8 over 4, which would have been, which reduces to negative 2. Okay? All right, guys, so I know some of this can be very difficult. So if you have questions, please, please, please come in for extra help. All right? Your homework is 3.4 practice D. We're asking you guys some of the same types of questions and then some more reviewing. Okay? All right, well, this is Mr. Grice signing off for Algebra 2, Unit 3.4 Notes, Day 4. Thanks for watching.